Hear me by the Spirit of God today, because what I am about to release into your life is not just a word, it is a divine strategy, a spiritual principle, and a prophetic instruction that will shape the next 50 years of your destiny. There are moments in life when God sends a word that doesn't just comfort you, it positions you. It doesn't just inspire you, it preserves you. It doesn't just bless you today, it builds your tomorrow. And today's message is one of those moments. I want you to lean in. I want your spirit alert, your mind engaged, and your heart open. Because what I am about to tell you may look small in the moment. It may sound simple at first, but it carries the weight of decades. It is a seed that will produce a harvest long after this moment has passed. There are some truths, some disciplines, some decisions that you don't fully understand when you receive them. But if you keep them close, if you guard them, if you treasure them, they will pay you back in seasons you haven't even entered yet. Today's word is titled, Just Keep It in Your Pocket. You will thank me for the next 50 years. Because there are things God is placing in your hand right now. Wisdom, restraint, discernment, self-control, patience, perspective. Things that may not seem urgent in the moment, but they are prophetic deposits for your future. God is giving you something today that your future self will rise up and call blessed. Something your children will see the fruit of. Something your destiny will be anchored in. This is not a moment for impulse. This is a moment for insight. Not a moment for pressure, but for wisdom. Not a moment for reacting, but for preserving what God has whispered into your spirit. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs don't come from what you release. They come from what you keep. They come from what you don't say, what you don't send, what you don't respond to, what you don't walk away from, what you don't sabotage, what you don't reveal prematurely. There are blessings that come to those who know how to hold something close until the appointed time. And today, by the authority of the Holy Spirit, I'm going to speak into your life the power of keeping it in your pocket, holding on to wisdom, holding on to discipline, holding on to strategy, holding on to the secrets God is whispering. Because one day, 50 years from now, you will look back at this moment, at this decision, at this discipline, and you will say, I thank God I kept it. I thank God I didn't waste it. So prepare your heart for this daily prayer. Prepare your mind for this prophetic alignment. Prepare your spirit for this divine instruction. Because what you keep today will shape what you live tomorrow. And what you protect now, heaven will multiply later. What you keep today becomes the foundation of the future you will live tomorrow. And this truth is woven into every dimension of life: spiritual, emotional, financial, relational, and destiny-driven. Life is not built in the heat of a single moment. It is constructed through accumulation, layer upon layer, choice upon choice, principle upon principle. Every future becomes visible by examining what a person chooses to keep in the present. There are seeds you plant with your decisions, and there are foundations you lay with your daily disciplines. Nothing appears overnight, nothing manifests without a root system, and nothing in your future will exist unless something in your present is being honored, protected, and preserved. God has a way of placing things in your hand that do not look like much in their early form. Ideas, instructions, convictions, principles, pieces of wisdom, and it is what you decide to do with them that determines the shape of the years ahead. There are certain instructions from God that feel small, almost too simple to matter, yet they carry prophetic potential. There are moments when heaven speaks not through thunder, but through a quiet nudge, a subtle redirection, a gentle restraint. And when you honor that impression, when you keep it, when you refuse to discard it simply because it does not appear monumental, you are actually responding to a divine blueprint. The architecture of your future is hidden inside the decisions of your present. The person who keeps wisdom today becomes the person who walks in stability tomorrow. The person who guards their heart today becomes the person who thrives emotionally tomorrow. The one who keeps their tongue today becomes the one who maintains their relationships tomorrow. The one who keeps their savings today becomes the one who lives in freedom tomorrow. The one who keeps God's instruction today becomes the one who lives under divine favor tomorrow. There are people who live their entire lives reacting to the moment, adjusting only to what they can see right now, and as a result, their future is constantly unsettled. But then there are others who understand that life works on the principle of sowing and reaping, building and standing, preparing and receiving. These individuals recognize that the future is not created accidentally, it is crafted intentionally. It is carved slowly, patiently, by keeping what matters today. Every wise choice, every small discipline, every act of obedience becomes a brick in the structure of your destiny. And while others may overlook these things because they appear insignificant, you understand that nothing is insignificant when it's placed in your life by God. The future always reveals what the present was quietly protecting. Sometimes the thing you are tempted to throw away is the very thing that will carry you into the next dimension of your life. Sometimes the impulse to react, to speak too soon, to spend too quickly, to make a rushed decision, to abandon a principle is the enemy's way of trying to take from you what heaven has entrusted to you. You must learn to keep what God gives you, even when your emotions don't understand it and your circumstances don't affirm it. Because what you keep becomes what you built with. What you keep becomes what God multiplies. What you keep becomes the material of your testimony. And though the enemy desires to snatch it early, to distract you into losing it, to deceive you into underrating it, you must remain steadfast in your commitment to hold on to the things that matter. Consider the wisdom you have received through experience, through scripture, through divine encounters, through mentors, through correction, through seasons of hardship. That wisdom is not meant to be tossed aside when a moment becomes intense. It is meant to be preserved so it can guide you through the complexities of tomorrow. The lesson that cost you pain, the insight that came through tears, the breakthrough that came through prayer, the revelation that came during difficulty. These are treasures. These are pillars. These are the foundations upon which your future self will stand. When you keep them, you are not simply remembering, you are building. You are constructing a life fortified against storms, rooted in understanding, anchored in truth and maturity. There is also the dimension of restraint that builds your future. There are times when holding back is not weakness, but wisdom. When silence is not suppression, but strategy. When waiting is not delay, but maturity. Many futures have been fractured by haste, by speaking prematurely, by exposing plans before their time, by spending resources meant for later seasons. Keeping something in your pocket is not a denial of action. It is an acknowledgement of timing. It is recognizing that some blessings must be incubated. Some decisions must be matured. Some plans must be protected until their appointed hour. What you keep in silence today becomes what you celebrate in public tomorrow. Your future is shaped not only by what you do, but by what you refuse to let go of. Your values, your integrity, your discipline, your prayer life, your identity in Christ. These things must be guarded like treasures. The world may try to pressure you into compromising them, but the moment you loosen your grip, the architecture of your future weakens. Every time you choose integrity over convenience, you are building your tomorrow. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you are strengthening your path. Every time you choose prayer over panic, you are aligning your destiny. Every time you choose wisdom over emotion, you are securing your future. What you keep becomes the foundation of everything you will one day step into. There is something powerful about understanding that tomorrow's victories are hidden inside today's choices. You may not see the full picture now, but God does. He knows how each decision, each act of obedience, each protective principle will converge in the years ahead. He knows what storms are coming, and he gives you what to keep today, so you will be standing strong tomorrow. He knows what blessings are being prepared, and he gives you the structure now so you can carry the weight later. The things you keep are not just for survival, they are for elevation, expansion, and longevity. They prepare you to sustain what God intends to release into your life. And you choose to hold on to the small yet significant things God instructs you to keep. You are actually choosing a future of alignment, stability, and purpose. You are choosing to live beyond the moment. You are choosing to honor God's process. You are choosing to partner with destiny. And while others may not understand why you protect what seems trivial, or why you refuse to let go of a principle that seems old-fashioned, or why you maintain a discipline that seems inconvenient, you understand that these things are not about today. They are about tomorrow. They're about the doors you will walk through, the opportunities you will carry, the platforms you will stand on, and the legacy you will leave. What you keep today becomes the foundation of the future you will live tomorrow. And though you may not fully see the impact yet, every choice is adding weight to the structure of your life. Every act of obedience is laying concrete under your feet. Every moment of restraint is adding strength to your character. Every preserved principle is shaping your destiny. You are building something with your choices, with your discipline, with your convictions, with your obedience, and that structure will hold you for years to come. Discipline, restraint, and wisdom are silent investments that pay lifelong dividends. And though they do not shout for attention or demand applause, they quietly construct the kind of life that stands firm through seasons, storms, and transitions. When you look at people who walk in strength, stability, and purpose, you are not witnessing accidents of fate or strokes of luck. You are seeing the accumulated results of choices made long before anyone was watching. Discipline is not glamorous in the moment. Restraint is not celebrated in the moment. And wisdom is not always understood in the moment. Yet each of these qualities becomes a powerful force that shapes your future, protects your destiny, and positions you for longevity. They are the foundations beneath the surface, the principles that quietly anchor your life while everything around you shifts. They do not make noise, they make impact. They do not demand recognition, they produce results. They do not shine brightly at first, they illuminate your entire life over time. Discipline is the ability to choose long-term benefit over short-term comfort. It is the capacity to align your actions with your values, even when your emotions disagree. It is the internal strength to remain consistent when inconsistency feels easier. It is one of the greatest gifts you can give your future self. People admire the outcomes of discipline, but rarely see the hidden sacrifices, the repeated decisions, the silent self-control that produce those outcomes. Discipline is not a moment, it is a lifestyle, a commitment to sowing seeds that may not sprout immediately, but will eventually yield a harvest too large to ignore. Every time you discipline yourself to pray, to study, to save, to stay quiet, to grow, to focus, to say no, to follow through, you deposit into a future account that will one day release reward, strength, and stability back to you. Discipline may not excite you in the moment, but it will bless every season of your life. Restraint is another dimension of maturity that carries tremendous power. In a world that praises impulse, speed, and immediate expression, restraint feels countercultural. Yet it is restraint that often saves you from unnecessary battles, maintains relationships that matter, preserves opportunities that aren't ready yet, and keeps you from damaging your credibility with reactions you cannot take back. Restraint is the ability to hold back when everything in you wants to move forward too quickly. It is choosing silence where noise would only escalate conflict. It is choosing patience where rushing would sabotage progress. It is choosing to wait rather than forcing something into existence. Restraint is not weakness, it is wisdom in motion. It is understanding that timing is as important as talent. that process is as significant as passion, and that not every urge deserves. Those who master restraint build lives that are not destroyed by impulsive decisions, reckless words, or premature actions. They protect their destiny by refusing to allow every emotion to run freely, every thought to be spoken, or every opportunity to be chased without discernment. Wisdom is the companion that makes discipline purposeful and restraint fruitful. Without wisdom, discipline can become rigid and restraint can become fear. But with wisdom, these qualities become divine strategies. Wisdom is the ability to see beyond the moment, to discern the true nature of things, to perceive consequences before they manifest, and to choose the path that leads to long-term blessing rather than short-term gratification. Wisdom takes your life off autopilot and places it under intentional design. It is the voice that whispers, "Not yet, not this one, wait, prepare, guard yourself, go now, move differently." And when you obey, you avoid pitfalls that others fall into. Wisdom does not always feel dramatic. It often feels quiet, gentle, almost unremarkable. Yet it carries the weight of heaven behind it. When you follow wisdom, you walk into opportunities at the right time. You step out of harmful situations before they deepen. You align with people who elevate you, and you avoid traps that were meant to derail you. These three qualities, discipline, restraint, and wisdom, are like long-term investments that compound over the years. In the beginning, the difference between someone who practices these qualities and someone who does not may appear small, but as time passes, the gap widens dramatically. The disciplined person grows. The undisciplined person repeats cycles. The restrained person preserves peace and credibility. The impulsive person creates unnecessary fires. The wise person navigates life with strategy. The reckless person reacts without understanding. Over decades, these small daily investments become the determining factors of success, stability, and peace. They influence financial freedom, emotional well-being, relational harmony, spiritual growth, and professional advancement. They quietly construct a life that stands strong while others crumble under the weight of their own unrestrained impulses. Every area of your life requires discipline if it is going to flourish. Your mind requires discipline to reject thoughts that lead to anxiety or confusion. Your emotions require discipline to prevent them from dictating your decisions. Your finances require discipline to avoid future hardship. Your relationships require discipline to communicate with intention and to show up consistently. Your spiritual life requires discipline to remain grounded, prayerful, and aligned with God's voice. Discipline multiplies the potential of everything you touch. Without discipline, dreams remain dreams. With discipline, dreams become plans, and plans become realities. In the same way, restraint protects everything discipline builds. When you have worked hard to build something meaningful, your identity, your finances, your reputation, your family, your spiritual authority, restraint becomes the shield that guards your progress. It keeps you from sabotaging what you have created. It keeps you grounded when pride tries to elevate you prematurely. It keeps you sober when temptation tries to seduce you. It keeps you wise when emotions try to manipulate you. Restraint is not only about holding back, it is about protecting your future from the consequences of unfiltered impulses. Many destinies have been lost not because of a lack of talent, but because of lack of restraint. Wisdom ties everything together by giving purpose to your restraint and direction to your discipline. Wisdom is the architect, restraint is the protection, discipline is the execution. When wisdom reveals the right path, discipline allows you to walk it, and restraint keeps you from straying off it. Wisdom helps you interpret seasons, recognize divine timings, discern the motives of people, understand opportunities, and identify traps. It guides you into decisions that build long-term success rather than momentary satisfaction. It reveals which battles are worth fighting and which are distractions. It reveals when to speak and when to listen. It reveals when to sow and when to save. Wisdom ensures that your efforts are not wasted, your sacrifices are not misdirected, and your steps are not misguided. These qualities are not loud, showy, or instantly gratifying. They do not bring overnight results, but over years and decades, they produce outcomes that others marvel at. They produce peace in your home, stability in your finances, favor in your relationships, longevity in your calling, and joy in your spirit. They cause you to be preserved when others are shaken, strengthened when others are weakened, and elevated when others collapse under the weight of their own choices. They are the quiet forces that create extraordinary lives, the unseen practices that shape visible success, the internal virtues that manifest in external fruit. Discipline, restraint, and wisdom are silent investments, but their dividends echo across generations. They bless not only you, but the people connected to you. They become part of your legacy. They become seeds your children inherit. They become principles that outlive your lifespan. When you honor these qualities, you are not just preparing yourself for the next season. You are preparing your lineage for the next 50 years and beyond. Some divine instructions seem small now, but become generational blessings when preserved. And this truth is evident all throughout Scripture, history, and the patterns of God's dealings with his people. God rarely gives instructions that look like the full picture. He gives seeds, fragments, hints, whispers, impressions, and simple directives that carry power far beyond what the human mind can comprehend in the moment. Divine instructions often arrive wrapped in simplicity. And because of that simplicity, many people overlook them, underestimate them, or fail to honor them. Yet hidden inside these seemingly small instructions are enormous outcomes, destiny-shaping consequences, and generational transformations. When God asks you to do something that appears insignificant, it is never insignificant. It is part of a much larger tapestry that only becomes visible with time. Every divine instruction is tied to a future season, a hidden provision, a coming opportunity, or a generational shift. Sometimes God gives you an instruction that does not make sense to your logic, but is perfect for your destiny. He might say, wait, when everything in you wants to move. He might say, give, when you feel like you barely have enough. He might say, forgive, when bitterness feels justified. He might say, be still, when your emotions demand action. These instructions may feel small, almost too quiet to matter, yet they are the very moments that rewrite the direction of your life. The size of the instruction is never a reflection of the size of the impact. God often hides massive harvests inside small seeds, and only those who trust him enough to obey experience the fullness of what he intended. A small act of obedience today can become a legacy that shapes the next 50 years. A small decision today can prevent tragedies, secure blessings, open doors, and establish foundations that future generations will benefit from. Divine instructions are often protective. They preserve you from dangers you cannot see, detours you cannot predict, and mistakes you do not yet know you are capable of making. What feels like a tiny nudge to walk away from a situation might be heaven shielding you from heartbreak. What feels like a subtle urge to pray might be God preparing your spirit for something ahead. What feels like a simple financial discipline might be the only thing that protects you from future scarcity. What feels like a quiet call to grow in character might be laying the groundwork for leadership opportunities you have not yet imagined. God's instructions come before the moment they are required. Obedience always looks unnecessary until the season arrives where that obedience becomes the reason you stand while others fall. Generational blessings often begin with a single moment that someone decided to obey God. Abraham left his homeland because of a simple instruction. Noah built an ark because of an instruction. Moses lifted his staff because of an instruction. Ruth followed Naomi because of an instruction. David refused to kill Saul because of an instruction. Esther approached the king because of an instruction. Jesus healed because he acted on instructions from the Father. In each of these stories, the instruction itself seems simple on the surface, but the outcome shaped nations, families, destinies, and centuries. You never know who is depending on your obedience. You never know what doors will open for future generations because you chose to listen today. You never know what poverty you are breaking, what curse you are ending, what blessing you are releasing, what opportunity you are unlocking simply by honoring a word from God that feels ordinary in the moment. This is why divine instructions must be taken seriously. They are not casual suggestions. They are soul-shaping strategies. They are divine interventions disguised as simple acts. They are spiritual weapons hidden in everyday obedience. They are God's way of navigating you through seasons long before you reach them. Whenever God speaks, even if it feels small, it is designed to shift something big. You may not see the connection now, but you will see it later. Nothing God tells you to do is random. Every instruction carries intention, direction, and purpose. Sometimes the blessing does not reveal itself until years later. You may pray for years without seeing a breakthrough, but the instruction to pray is building spiritual strength and altering the atmosphere around your life. You may sow quietly without immediate return, but the instruction to sow is creating a harvest that will appear at the time you need it most. You may practice forgiveness even when it feels unfair, but the instruction to forgive is freeing your soul and releasing divine favor in ways you cannot yet comprehend. You may stay consistent in your calling despite discouragement, but the instruction to remain faithful is positioning you for doors that will only open for those who did not quit prematurely. Divine instructions also act as filters. They separate the committed from the casual, the mature from the impulsive, the visionary from the short-sighted. People who obey divine instructions demonstrate trust in the God who sees the end from the beginning. They show heaven that they are ready to steward greater blessings. They show God that they value his voice more than their own impulses. That posture becomes the fertile ground where God plants generational blessings. When your life becomes a place where God's instructions are honored, heaven entrusts you with more. Obedience attracts favor. Obedience multiplies grace. Obedience draws protection. Obedience unlocks assignments. Obedience prepares descendants you haven't even met to walk in blessings you prayed for. When you preserve a divine instruction, you are carrying something precious. It is like holding a seed that looks small but contains a forest. You may not see the full landscape inside that instruction, but God does. He sees the children who will benefit from it. He sees the business that will flourish because of it. He sees the marriage that will be strengthened by it. He sees the peace that will come into your home because of it. He sees the chains that will break because you obeyed a quiet whisper. He sees generations rising in stability, prosperity, and wisdom because you chose to honor his voice now. That one small instruction may be the reason your family walks in blessings instead of battles, in freedom instead of bondage, in abundance instead of lack. Divine instructions also cultivate sensitivity to God's presence. The more you honor what God says, the clearer his voice becomes. Obedience sharpens discernment. It trains your spirit to recognize divine direction quickly. It opens your heart to deeper revelation. It builds intimacy with God in ways that last a lifetime. The person who learns to obey small instructions becomes the person God trusts with great assignments. The spiritual ear becomes more accurate. The heart becomes more aligned. The mind becomes more anchored in divine truth. This is why some people walk in clarity while others walk in confusion. The difference is often obedience to the small things. These instructions must be preserved because the enemy always tries to pull them out of your hand through discouragement, distraction, deception, or delay. He knows that if he can steal the instruction, he can steal the future blessing. He knows that if he can make you discard the seed, he can prevent the harvest. Your job is to hold tightly to what God has told you, even when it seems irrelevant, inconvenient, or insignificant. The instruction may not feel urgent now, but it will become essential later. There are moments in the future where that one instruction will be the difference between breakthrough and breakdown, between clarity and confusion, between advancement and stagnation. Some divine instructions seem small now, but become generational blessings when preserved. And your obedience today is writing the story of your tomorrow. It is building the foundation of your legacy. It is preparing blessings that will touch people long after you are gone. God does not ask you to do anything without attaching a promise, a purpose, and a provision to it. Your future will thank you for every instruction you honored, every whisper you obeyed, and every seed you protected. Because what feels small now will one day be the very reason a generation rises in blessing instead of burden. Your seed does rise and burden